Hello, everybody! I'm back. I know I wasn't gone that long. There was a video I put up Friday, and then I was gone Saturday, and today's just Sunday, but I'm back! I don't know, it's weird. Whenever I don't do a video for more than like 2 days in a row, it feels weird. It feels like, okay, now there's something I should be doing right now. Anyway, today, I hope you're all excited because we are tackling a brand spanking new SBS. That's right. SBS, of course, standing for, hold on, I know this, I'm the One Piece guy, I know, SBS, steamed broccoli salad, that's right. Oda is going to showcase his brand new recipe. He's coming out with a sequel to the Sanji cookbook. It's a vegetarian option One Piece cookbook, there you go, steamed broccoli salad. Is that even a thing? Hold on, let me check. This is how I Google search, yeah, it's a thing right here. Yeah, steamed broccoli salad. Actually, doesn't look that bad. All right, I'd eat that. Yeah, sure, okay. But no, it's Shitsumon Oboshu Suru is the proper name of SBS. Oda's taking questions, and let's tackle them today. Volume 106. Before we even get into the SBS, I just wanted to point out the volume cover of the Tankobon looks really awesome. Kicking off the Futureland arc at Egghead. You know, I love Wano. Wano is really fun. It's the longest arc in One Piece. But I could definitely see why Oda went immediately from the Edo period samurai island to the super advanced, you know, future sci-fi island. You know, it's a good counterbalance to all that. We're spending like well over 100 chapters in basically the 1700s essentially, and now we're going to the far future. I think it works. I love Luffy and all the Straw Hats like rocketing off on their dom shoes, their floaty dom shoes rocketing off into the sky. All right, so there's nothing really that crazy in this SBS. I kind of organized it, I guess, by the most important thing first, and that is talking about Fujitora and Aramaki's senses of justice, okay? So every Marine, or at least all the Marines that really matter, I mean, I'm sure some seaman recruits or whatever have a sense of justice, but who cares about them, right? Go check out One Piece D&D Marines over on Rustage's Twitch. It's a lot of fun. Okay, I play a guy that has a crab on his shoulder, so yeah, it's fun. Anyway, all Marines that have a high rank, especially the Admirals, have a sense of justice, okay? So there's this overarching thing in One Piece that's absolute justice, okay? And it's the justice by, like, you know, the ends justify the means always, okay? So somebody that definitely subscribes to that type of justice is Akainu. More specifically, Sakazuki subscribes to thorough justice. And if anything you could say about Akainu, he's very thorough, okay? His actions at Ohara pretty much exemplified that right away, how it was like, hey, we were given orders to buster call this island and wipe out all the scholars on it. Hey, there's a ship that's leaving with evacuees. Yeah, there could be scholars on there. Blow it up. And then they did. True story. So yeah, that's Akainu. That's Sakazuki's thorough sense of absolute justice. Now you have this neat polarity thing going on here where you have absolute justice and then you have moral justice, but then all of the individual Marines kind of have a unique name for their sense of justice, okay? So look at the case with Aokiji. Aokiji originally subscribed to something called blazing justice, but now he subscribes to lazy justice, okay? He went from blazing to lazy, which honestly, so during the Ohara incident, it was blazing justice. I feel that one was just a lot more, like, motivation behind it, you know, like, when Kuzan joined the Marines, he kind of hit the ground running, and he's just like, let's do this! Blazing justice! Damn it, I ate the ice fruit! Okay, it's fine, I'll still roll with it, right? And then after the Ohara incident, that kind of opened his mind to things, and remember, there was a line that Aokiji had at the moment. I think he was speaking to Robin as he was helping her off the island with the little rowboat and everything like that. Kuzan essentially said, you know, justice, especially absolute justice, it can make a man go to some dark places, okay? It kind of make somebody fanatical in their sense of justice to the point where they can actually be, you know, they're not just at all. It's rather, you know, evil to, like, you know, murder people, you know, wantingly and thinking that it's, you know, justice. And so he was referring to Sakazuki there. And so I think after the events of Ohara, I think Aokiji, both figuratively but also very literally, cooled his jets a little bit, because maybe Kuzan kind of looked at the situation with Sakazuki and he's like, okay, he's going like full steam ahead with this absolute justice shit, and he just bombarded an entire ship of innocent civilians. So maybe I should dial down the blazing justice a little bit and then we'll just do lazy justice. Not to say that Aokiji is like, I don't care what happens in the world, Marines, pirates, who gives a crap. Not that. He's still an admiral, he's still good at his job, but he's just like, I'm gonna dial down the motivation because a little bit of too much motivation could lead me down a path where I end up like Sakazuki. And oddly enough, Aokiji and Akainu for a long time were kind of friends, rivals, you know. They did not want to fight each other, you know, so there's kind of they still had sort of a friendship there. But it's sort of like Aokiji saw the darker parts of Sakazuki's, like, heart and his sense of justice, and he's like, I want to avoid that at all costs, okay? So now he has lazy justice. Kizaru, I feel, has the most dangerous out of all of them that we've heard up until now, and it's unclear justice. So just by the very nature of his sense of justice being unclear, it's kind of frivolous, it's kind of just like whatever mood Kizaru's in when he wakes up that day. Maybe he'll go wipe out an entire pirate fleet. Maybe he'll just chill out and blaze something. I don't know, but that's what makes him scary, okay? So then, though, we get to the two new admirals post-time skip. We get Fujitora and we get Aramaki, who's Green Bull, okay? Now, interestingly enough, with Fujitora, I thought we already had gotten his sense of justice earlier, and we did in a Vivara card. It was listed as humane justice, which makes sense given the fact that so it's definitely more on the moral morality scale with the Marines. But also, it's like, you know, you saw how he cared for people at Dressrosa, and after the events of that whole arc, he essentially is like, okay, no, the Marines failed you guys big time here, and we can never really make it up to you. You had to rely on a pirate to save you from another pirate who was working on the government payroll. So Fujitora is kind of new to all of this, but even he could see this. Actually, because he's new to all of this, he can see, impressive considering he's blind, how messed up this whole system is. It's like Fujitora, I've gone over this before with him, we don't know his whole backstory. I like to think he was just a friend of Akainu, but he wasn't a Marine, and he was this really powerful swordsman, like a hermit, like who sequestered himself from the rest of the world after he blinded himself from the evils. So he lived out in the mountains for like decades and decades and just practiced with his sword skills and got like the really badass blind swordsman credit. And then after the events of Marineford, after Sakazuki became the fleet admiral and Kuzan left, and his former position was empty, so there's two admiral slots that are open. They can't just pick anybody to become an admiral, so I bet Sakazuki was like, I know somebody. I know this blind swordsman living out in the mountains that's like the greatest swordsman I've ever met. So you know what? I'm going to go ask him to be an admiral, you know what I mean? And so he joined, but like upon joining, Fujitora is like, oh wow, no, this is all messed up. Like you got corruption over here, corruption over there, like this is really jacked up. Why are you running the Marines like this? And so at Dressrosa, he bowed down to everybody. So humane justice did make sense, but remember, Oda does not, like, sit down and write out, like, every single one of the Vivara cards. He doesn't have time for that, okay? So I'm not even sure if this is really a retcon so much as it's just, like, Oda himself sitting down and defining Fujitora's justice. Maybe he forgot to, because Oda does tend to do that. Maybe with the Vivara card, he did specifically add humane justice for that, but then forgot, and then here we are a couple years later, and it's like Fujitora's sense of justice is now listed as honorable justice, which humane and honorable, you know, they definitely have similarities. I would say humane is definitely more from a humanitarian perspective, like you care more for the well-being of the citizens of the One Piece world. That's like your number one priority. Honorable is you have a code of honor that you follow. And probably humanitarianism is in there, you know what I mean? Like, so Fujitora has a very strict code, and he's probably like, oh, altruism, care about other human beings, that's definitely on the code, but there's other stuff. That's not the only thing, okay? So not only for the fact I could see him bowing down to the citizens of Dressrosa and King Rikudol III, not just because he cared about their well-beings, but also it's a personal thing for him, too. It's like, listen, I have a code of honor, and this whole situation with Doflamingo just, like, spat all over that. You know, it's almost like Fujitora was like, I'm embarrassed for having been part of a Marine, like, operation here and not being able to do anything or as much as I should have been able to do for you. Like, I'm embarrassed that I represent and I'm the Admiral of the Marines, and you still had to deal with all this. You have my undying remorse, and my, like, I will, like, apologize right here formally to you. I will bow down before you, King of Dressrosa. All my men will bow down before you. I don't even really I don't even know how to begin to make this up to you, okay? I am ashamed from my honor and from all of your citizens that have died in this battle. I can almost also see Fujitora, like, speaking to Riku Dole III after this, like them sitting down after everything's kind of like settled and then discussing what would later become, because the Reverie was about to happen, them discussing what would become the abolishment of the warlord system. I could see Fujitora and Riku Dole III sitting down and being like, okay, so we can all agree the problem here was Doflamingo working for the government. That never should have happened. And then, you know, Fujitora is like, oh, I agree. And just like, okay. So Reverie's coming up. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna propose we abolish the system. You know, and she's like, I think that's a good idea. You know what I mean? So that's probably the beginnings of that. You know, Fujitora might have given Riku Dole III some confidence to, like, go and discuss it and everything. He's like, hey, I don't know how much I can back you here. I am an admiral in the Marines, but I don't have as much authority as you think I do, probably. Even Sakazuki really doesn't at the end of the day, but I will support you as much as I can, kind of a situation. So, strict code of conduct, that's Fujitora. I would honestly love to see his code of conduct. You know, like, he sits down and writes out, like, this is my code, and, like, the 5 laws of Isho, the blind swordsman. That would be beast. That would be really cool. So that's Fujitora. And now we get to Aramaki, Green Bull's sense of justice. Many of you might even just be like, he has a sense of justice? Oh, no, he does. All the high-ranking Marines do. It's like, all right, what's your first idea? If you don't know, what's your first thought on Aramaki's sense of justice? Some ideas might be like prejudice justice. Oh, maybe a Akainu fanboy justice. It's like his justice is he's an Akainu fanboy and wants to be just like him, right? So no, he has a sense of justice that is deadly justice. So Oda specifically calls our attention to Aramaki's tattoo. So, you know, he has this impeccably chiseled physique, and he has a bunch of kanji that are tattooed on his the left side of his chest, all the way down the left side of his torso, okay? And it stands for Shinagawa Shinju, all right? There's 4 kanji here, okay? Now, the literal translation of this is a little iffy on YouTube. There's a word in there that YouTube's always kind of funny about whether or not I say it or not. So I'm not going to say the word, but it's the word that you use when somebody themselves. Okay, you got it? All right, good. So the literal translation is double at Death River. I'm just like, it's double death at Death River. Okay, there you go. Okay, fine. All right. So that is actually a reference, because Oda specifically mentions the tattoo, and he kind of is just like, what could have Aramaki went through in his past, where not only is he a fan of Akainu, and he looks up to him, but he takes it to the next level, okay, where he's, like, directly telling the scabbards and the citizens of Wano, like, you're not allied with the world government, therefore you can all die here. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's actually, honestly, it's better if you did all die, because then that's the order of the world, okay? So that's the way. It's almost like he's been severely brainwashed by, like, world government propaganda, which honestly could be part of it. But, okay, so Shinagawa Shinju is in reference to a Rakugo play, and by the same name. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of a synopsis of the Rakugo play, because that might give us a little bit of insight into the backstory of Aramaki here. Okay, so really quickly, there's only 2 major characters in this, maybe 3, but there's only 2 that are really important to this, okay? So the main character of the Rakugo play is a aging sex worker by the name of Osome, okay? So she's kind of like over the hill, she's getting on in years, and she's not as desirable, as it were, to all of her clientele. So her clientele is beginning to shrink as she's getting on in years, and a lot of the other workers at this establishment, at this brothel, are kind of teasing her and making fun of her. It's just like, oh, no one wants you anymore, that kind of stuff, okay? And on top of this, Osome is also in financial difficulties, okay? And so Osome decides one day that's like, okay, my clientele here is shrinking, you know, the way I lived my life up until now, how I made a living is dwindling, it's not working anymore, I don't really have any money. Well, I guess the reasonable thing to do would just be to, okay. So she doesn't want to die alone, though, because that's depressing. So she wants to die with somebody else. So now she needs to convince somebody in town to, bite the big one with her, so to speak. All right. So one of her clients that she still has is, she's talking to him and is like, hey, do you know anybody that would want to do this? And he's like, oh, I have an idea. How about, so there's this dude who's a book lender, but he's kind of like a blockhead. He's kind of like he's like the village idiot kind of thing. And his name is Kinzo, okay? So he's like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna do that. But, the village idiot down there, Kinzo, you could probably convince that guy to do anything, So Osome is like, oh, all right, we'll do that then. So she goes down and essentially kind of really coerces to just hey, Kinzo, let's go. Let's just, let's just jump off this mortal coil together, so to speak. Almost convinces the poor guy to, do it with a razor at one point. It is like, here's a razor, and Kinzo's like, so that doesn't work, okay. But the following day, she somehow convinces Kinzo to jump off a bridge with her, okay. So, yeah, this is I can't wait until this Rakugo play shows up in Akane no Banashi. That's gonna be awesome, all right. So they get to the bridge, and they're there on the bridge, and he goes first. Kinzo goes first. So Osome is just like, go ahead. And Kinzo's there, and he's looking over the bridge down at the river below him, and he's just like, yeah, hey, Osome, I don't think this is... Oh! And then Osome just pushes the poor son of a gun over the side of the bridge. He's like, yeah, that's great. Let's go. Come on. We have to move this along. So pushes him over the bridge into the river. And then Osome gets up, and she's like, all right, well, goodbye, mortal coil. And then at the exact moment she's about to jump, there's a messenger boy that shows up behind her, and he's like, oh, Miss Osome, I have some money that was sent to you. I don't know, she had a trust fund or somebody sent her money, okay? And he's like, oh, you won the lottery, you have money now. And so Osome's like, oh, I do? Oh, wow, I do. Okay. Wow, this was stupid. Why did I decide to jump off a bridge? Oh, man, that's ridiculous. All right, I'm going to go and live my life. And so Osome just leaves. Oh, but don't feel bad for Kinzo, because he didn't die. Don't worry. The water in the river was only knee deep. So at worst, he just sprained his ankle or whatever. Now, there's more to the story. There's a part where Kinzo goes back to his boss later. And, okay, there's a funny scene, so I got to tell you that much. This unrelated now to Osome. She's just kind of done. But so Kinzo gets out of the river, he's soaking wet, and he's like, I'm gonna go tell my boss about this. So he goes to where his boss is located, which is an illegal gambling den. So, he's covered in water, he's running through the town, Kinzo. He gets to the gambling den, he opens the door, really forcefully, boss, I have something crazy to tell you. And so because he opened the door so forcefully, everybody in the gambling hall thinks it's a cop or a government official, somebody's cracking down on the gambling, and they're like, oh shit, oh man. So they all get up and grab their money and just yeet themselves out of the window, out of the gambling hall, right? Except for one person that stayed where he was. He was the only person gambling in the hall that did not leave. And then when asked, it's you were the one man that was not afraid of being busted. So why did you stay? And the man says he's disabled and I cannot walk. Okay, so that's the story. That's the Rakugo play that's based off the tattoo that's on Aramaki. All right, so that last part was more just that's just funny to me. I just wanted to say that because that's a funny ending of the bit. It's why didn't you leave? It's just I can't walk. It's all right, that's a good reason. All right, good, okay. Anyway, what does that mean for Aramaki's backstory? Was Aramaki the Kinzo in this story? Was he the one that was an idiot that fell for some beautiful woman that just told him to do something stupid like jump off a bridge? And then he did it, and it's the same thing. Aramaki, you know what it might have been? Okay. To take it in a more serious note, Aramaki might have fallen in love with a woman, head over heels in love with this woman, okay? And she might have just been playing him the entire time, like Osome was playing with Kinzo. And so at the end of the day, it results in this ultimate sacrifice where he jumps off of a bridge, and he doesn't die. He just gets soaked, and the woman is just like, and then just leaves. And then Aramaki's just like devastated. And so he decides to, I guess, number one, go to a tattoo parlor and get the reminder of his, that moment. Like, this is the worst moment in my life. I want to get that tattooed right across my chest. So he does that, and then prescribes to deadly justice, and then joins the Marines. If anything else, I'll tell you one thing that this might tie back to. Aramaki is so dedicated to following Sakazuki and, making Sakazuki proud. It might be a situation where he will follow through to the death, if necessary, to please somebody. Okay, so it might have happened with a woman before, and it didn't work out, and then he joined the Marines, and now he's kind of just doing the same thing with Akainu, Like, if Sakazuki gives him a mission, like if Sakazuki called Aramaki into his office and just like, I want you to go to Death Island. Death Island? Why do you want me to go there? Because there's a pirate there I want you to bring in. Oh, but everybody that goes to Death Island dies. Yes. Are you willing to make that sacrifice, Aramaki? Damn straight, sir. I will do that, Mr. Akainu. I'm going to go do that. I want to make you proud. And then he runs off. Just like he would, I feel. Like, that's the thing. He's like that willing to please Sakazuki. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's the backstory, at least I crafted, of Aramaki. It might connect back to the Rakugo play. But I'm assuming we're now going to get a lot more flashbacks with the Admirals. We just had one with Kuzan a little bit. Not his, past or anything, like his, childhood growing up. But we got his backstory with meeting Blackbeard and everything. And now that we're moving into this final saga, I think a lot more of the Admirals we're going to learn about. We're going to learn about, certainly at least, Sakazuki, Kuzan, and Borsalino. Fujitora's, I can see his backstory, like Oda putting it in there, but I could see his only being maybe one chapter, or not even a chapter, maybe just a couple panels. I can honestly see Fujitora getting the Kaido backstory treatment, where maybe you get a page or two of a few panels at various points throughout Fujitora's life. Here's a panel when Fujitora was a young man practicing the sword. Here's when he went traveling the world. Here's when he blinded himself, the thing that made him blind himself, and then going out into the trees and training for decades, and then meeting Akainu, and then that brings it back to the present when he joined the Marines. I could see that going down, right? Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, that was just the question there involving Aramaki and Fujitora's senses of justice, honorable justice for Fujitora, and deadly justice for Aramaki. Let me know down below how that's going to tie back later into the story. Okay, next one, we're going to be talking about Law's Awakening. Okay, so Law, and this is really cool because this was actually just in the anime. We had Law using Rirum against Big Mom to finish her off. Okay, so this is so weird because I'm not even kidding. Before this SBS even came out, before I even knew it was out, all right, I was thinking about Law's Awakening earlier that day before I even read this, and I was like, what does the K in K-Room stand for? And I know it's pronounced as Chrome, but K-Room and then R-Room, because the R in R-Room or Re-Room is remote. He's making a remote room that's separate from his body, like he surrounded Blackbeard in a room and he can mess with Blackbeard at a distance. Okay, so that makes sense. But what does the K stand for in K-Room? Okay, and so Oda answered the question, and it was just one of those things where it's wow, I was just thinking about this earlier today, and Oda answered it, ask and you shall receive, as it were. So the K in K-Room stands for knife. I mean, it's a sword, not a knife, but close enough. Swords are like big knives, and also it's Kikoku, which starts with a K. You could have just called it Kikoku Room. That would have worked. That would have actually been fine. And actually, you know what? This reminds me of a really bad dad joke that my dad would always use. Still does continue to use to this day, by the way. And it's, so whenever we were out at a restaurant or something, and they don't have a knife as part of the silverware, my dad would have to ask the waiter to get a knife. My dad would always say, I need a knife. Where's the knife at? I don't see the knife. And I'd be like, Dad, why do you call it that? He's like, well, there's a K in it. Why is there a K? It doesn't make any sense. It's a knife. Good job, Dad. Good job, Dad. I've heard that one a lot. I don't know if my dad was the only one that did that, but yeah, so that made me think of this too. It's there's a K in it. It's knife. Karome, knife. You know, it's like, all right, sure, fine. Anyway, somebody that knows more about the English language could probably accurately describe why there's a K in it, but something antiquated from a long time ago, probably. But anyway, yeah, that's the reason there. And Oda goes on to explain that, like, so basically what Law is doing with that ability is he's making a remote room and then connecting it with Kikoku, and then that's where all the attacks come from, where he can extend the blade and use anesthesia and everything like that. So that's actually cool because... So the first ability that Law used when he went into his awakening was K-Room. So that got me and a lot of people thinking that K-Room was just the defaulted upgraded form of Room. But it's actually reversed. It's actually Re-Room, the one that he uses later against Big Mom to silence her. That's like the new base form of Room. When Law goes into his awakening, the main thing he can do, that the main takeaway from this is he can make remote rooms away from him, okay? And then K-Room is just combining one of those remote rooms with Kikoku. He could probably combine it with anything. He could probably combine Re-Room with the submarine, with the Polar Tang to mess with it at a distance, or like when he attacked Blackbeard. But yeah, Re-Room is the main ability. He can use silence to, you know, quiet Big Mom down, like Corazone's Calm fruit. So yeah, that's the main thing to take away from it. It was just the second ability that Law used. He used Karome and then anesthesia against Big Mom first, and then Re-Room later. So that's a little bit of confusion, but it's cleared up there. And at the very end of all of that question, Oda says, by the way, if it sounds confusing, that's normal. So it's almost like Oda's getting to the point, like, you don't need to understand Law's ability. I don't even really understand Law's ability, but that's how it works, okay? Don't worry, Oda. All right, listen. I've seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, at least the first 6 parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Law's room is pretty easy to understand. Somebody can try to explain King Crimson to me. That's hard. All right, what's next? We got Sentomaru's backstory. Any Sentomaru fans out here? Anybody? Okay, if you actually leave in the comments down below, like, actually, Tekking, Sentomaru is my favorite character. I'm like, you don't have to impress me, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to be like, wait, no, Tekking, Sentomaru is my favorite character. I'm like, guys, it's okay. Sentomaru is nobody's favorite character. I'm okay with Sentomaru. I like Sentomaru. But to say Sentomaru is your favorite One Piece character, like you literally have to be a lumberjack and just love giant axes, and you just automatically, like, whichever character in the anime has the giant axe, that's my favorite character, or you just have to be a big fan of sumo. Like if you say Sentomaru is your favorite character, that pretty much tells me that you're just, okay, you're a sumo wrestler. All right, cool, good luck for you, okay? All right, but anyway, Sentomaru's backstory, okay? So Sentomaru grew up in a lumberjack village out in the middle of the mountains in the forest, okay? And even from a young age, he was, like, super strong, okay? So he could just take these giant axes and just, you know, knock down trees all day, all night. And he was kind of, he was a little bit, like, made fun of for that because of his, like, freakish strength that he had in this village. And so he was really useful, but at the same time, people were a little scared of him, and also he didn't really have a lot of friends, okay? And so he did that for a while, and then eventually Vegapunk adopted him. I'm assuming Vegapunk was maybe traveling and ended up in this mountain village, in this logging village out in the middle of nowhere, and he saw Sentomaru there kind of by himself, and he was just kind of hacking down trees all day. Like, Sentomaru is, like, the kind of stoic person where he would, like, wake up in the morning, and everybody would just kind of stay away from him. Like, he would go to buy breakfast in the town square, and everyone would just be like, okay, here you go. And you know what, honestly, probably after a while, Sentomaru just got jaded to it and just didn't even give a shit about, like, other people not treating him right, didn't have any friends, he didn't even care. He's just all business. He's like, beep, 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 5 a.m., time to start working, time to start shopping. You load 16 tons, what do you get? You know, and just starts doing that all day, and then it's like, all right, 8 o'clock, time to go to bed, wake up next day, do the same thing. Wait a second, hold on. Really strong person living out in the middle of nowhere that people are afraid of, doesn't have a lot of friends because of his crazy powerful strength, and is also a sumo wrestler. Where have I heard that before? I don't know if that is a reference to Record of Ragnarok, but it's pretty damn close, right? Okay, especially since Sentomaru became a sumo wrestler. He's like, I love sumo. All right, then. Okay. Well, anyway, that was Sentomaru's backstory. You know what? It's not really all that intuitive or anything. It's nothing crazy. It's just he worked as a lumberjack for a while. I mean, he has a giant axe. What else would he use the damn thing for, right? And then he loves sumo, and then Vegapunk asked him to come on, and he's basically adopted him and raised him, kind of. And then now he's his, like, his private bodyguard. It's like, okay, that works for me. All right, that's Sentomaru's backstory. There we go. What's next? Oh, okay. So this is just the clarification. I knew that this was going to show up in the SBS as soon as, like, it was going on in the manga. I'm like, all right, yeah, some clarification needs to be done here. Okay, the whole situation with S-Snake, with using Boa's love fruit ability, and how she turns people to stone, and, you know, she is a child, and so a lot of people were questioning it, because when Boa's ability was first introduced back at Amazon Lily, they mentioned it has to be lust in order to change you to stone, and Oda clarifies, no, it doesn't. They do not, it's nothing with lust or attraction in that way. They find S-Snake, like, adorable, like you would find, like, a baby or, like, a child adorable. It's not even close to the same thing, as if that would be the message Oda would be trying to send. So, clarification there. There it is. But yeah, the fruit ability, it might work with any positive emotion. I've brought this up before. It could be something involving, like, even admiration could even work. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, Margaret or some of the other, Kuja tribe, they just might look up to Boa. They might respect her, or, like, just her power. They might be kind of like, admiring, you know, like that, something like that. And that might be enough to activate the ability to turn you to stone. So, like, Blackbeard wanted that power at, when he attacked Amazon Lily, and so people were making fun of, like, so what's going to happen when Blackbeard, if he ate the love fruit, would Blackbeard suddenly become, like, dead sexy or something like that? Like, Blackbeard gets, like, an 8-pack, and he's just rippling, you know, it's just long flowing hair, you know? And so, no, but it might be a thing where, like, somebody might look at Blackbeard's power and might be like, oh, that is, like, he's crazy strong, and that might be enough to turn you to stone, something of that nature, right? So just a little bit of clarification there on S-Snake's ability. Next up, we have Oda drawing the anthropomorphic forms of both Katakuri's trident, Mogura, as well as Law's Kikoku. Since we're already talking about Kikoku today, I guess that fits. Okay, so here they are right here. I actually have them pulled up manually. So here they are. Here they are. So Mogura kind of makes sense. It's just a mole with legs that's wearing a crown and eating a donut. And Kikoku is like a postal carrier, like a mailman that has like a backpack and a fancy mustache and a sword sticking out of his head. And this was the image I found. I'm not sure if this was translated into French, or if Oda drew this, like, that's a French mole and it's a French mailman, so they're written in French. So the mole is just saying miam donuts, which just means yum, like miam. It even kind of sounds like yum in French. It's just yum donuts. I like donuts. Makes sense. Katakuri loves donuts. And then Kikoku says, all right, I've butchered a lot of other languages in my YouTube career. Let's try to butcher French here. I don't know if I've used French that often. Je suis fatigué. I don't know. But anyway, it just means I'm tired. It just means I'm tired, everybody. I've been carrying letters all day. I'm bushed, you know. So there they go. There's Mogura and Kikoku drawn as people. There you go. All right. What's next? Number 7 point. Okay, so this recalls the scene after Luffy defeats Lucci at Egghead. And then Stussy reveals that she's actually a double agent, and she knocks out Kaku and Lucci. They tie them up with the Sea Prism and toss them in the lab where they're kind of regrouping, okay? And then you have a shot off to the side where Robin and Nami are next to Lucci, and Lucci's unconscious, and Nami's like kicking him in the face. And then Robin's off to the side like, Nami, calm down. And so somebody just wanted clarification of like, what's going on with that scene? I want to know what Nami's saying to Lucci in the background there. And I even pointed that out in the review, I think. It was really funny. And so Oda just says basically that, the conversation's kind of going like, hey, you think you were hot shit at Eni's lobby. You think you were the big boss, hey? Well, guess what? Now you're chained up, bitch. It's like that. It's that kind of thing with Lucci, where Lucci was like this really powerful, like he was the main antagonist of Eni's lobby, and now he's kind of not small potatoes, but he's way further down on the hierarchy now. Lucci is not even close to being like the strongest character out there right now. Okay, he's powerful, but he's not on the level of Gear 5th Luffy. He's not on the level of Zoro, and certainly not on the level of the Yonko or anything like that. Well, Luffy is a Yonko now, so there you go. But yeah, so Nami's like, hey, Rob Lucci is, chained up and he can't fight back against, I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. I'm gonna give him the business. Okay. And also Nami kind of says like, hey, yeah, this is for kidnapping Robin, like kicks him in the face. Lucci probably wouldn't even feel anything. He's just like, ugh. He's fine. And then Robin's kind of off to the side like, Nami, it's cool. Chill out, Nami. He's like, no, I'm tired of this dick. Just like she just keeps kicking him. And Robin's like, no, it's fine. It's seriously okay. It's 2 years ago. I've moved on beyond it. Well, that's great for you. I haven't. And then she just keeps going to town. So yeah, that's basically the conversation there, which I find funny. Okay. Finally, we come to the last point, which is not really much of it's something we already knew, and it's all the former members of Cipher Pol 9 are now members of Cipher Pol 0. We saw that in the Reverie flashback. We saw Kumadori, Khalifa. Khalifa was confirmed to be a member, also Blueno, during Film Red. And so that was just canon. Fukuro is there. Jabra is there. They're all members of Cipher Pol 0. Oda also clarifies the ones that wear masks are very powerful. They're like in another class of themselves. However, something about the mask thing is like the first time I think we saw Lucci at Dressrosa, or like we see Lucci a lot of times without a mask. So he does have one. He wears one. We saw it when they arrived at Egghead. So he has a mask. Stussy has a mask. Kaku has a mask. It's just when we first see them, they don't. So it's like, did they have a mask or what? So no, they're in the same class as like Joseph and Maha and everybody that were the group that were there at Wano. So they're like kind of in the same category. I think Hattori has a mask. Spondum technically has a mask. It's like a face brace because his face got messed up, but he still technically has a mask. And yeah, so Jabra, though, Fukuro, Khalifa, Blueno, and Kumadori, from what we saw, did not have masks. So I guess they're not in the same category there, so I guess Kaku still beats Jabra there. Also, I'm sure many of you are curious about Nero. Nero, of course, the Sea Weasel, who was like the intern for CP9, and no, he's not included in that. I mean, Oda doesn't specify. Maybe he is, but no, pretty sure he's dead. Pretty sure Lucci killed him. But anyway, yeah. So those were all the major points there of SBS 106. We got clarifications of justice, and we got Law's ability. We got Sentomaru's backstory. We got Nami kicking the crap out of Rob Lucci. So yeah, that was a pretty solid SBS. I think the last one, I mean, the SBS 105 had a lot of info, so this one's like a little bit lighter on it, but I think it works fine. So let me know down below what your favorite answer that Oda did here with the SBS, and yeah, thanks for watching the video, everybody. This will be Teching, Barry, and Larry signing out. Later, everyone.